So in this video, we'll learn about some of the axioms of Ket space. We'll also see a postulate about writing probabilities, and we'll revisit Stern-Gallagher experiment 1 and 2 and write them in some mathematical form. Okay, so we'll begin with the axioms of Ket space. An axiom means an established statement. So we are going to see a few properties followed by Kets in the Ket space, which is our Hilbert space. So the first property is the sum of any two Ket vectors is also a Ket vector. So if you're adding, much like vector addition, if you add two vectors, you get another vector. Similarly, if you add two Kets, you get another Ket. Second property says that this vector addition is commutative. Like ordinary vector addition is commutative. Similarly, these Kets which live in the Hilbert space also obey the commutative law. So if you add A plus B, or if you reverse the order, both yield the same vector. Vector addition is associative. What associativity means? That if you add A and B first and then you add C to it, or if you add B and C and then you add A, they yield the same answer. The fourth property says that the existence of identity. What identity element means? That there is some particular vector or particular element in that space. If you add other elements to it, there is no change in the value of that element. That is, if you have a vector 0, okay, this vector 0 which lives in the Hilbert space, this is a ket, and if you add a to the 0, it brings no change to the vector. This is our identity element here. Next property is, given any ket A, there is a unique ket minus A such that sum of this is 0. That means there is existence of inverse element. So inverse to any ket is you just multiply it or you take the minus of that ket. Sixth property talks about scalar multiplication. So if you are given any ket A and any complex number Z, when we talk about Hilbert space, we talk about complex numbers. It's no more a real space. Hilbert space is a complex vector space. So you multiply it by a complex number and then you get a new ket. So here ZA is just ZA is just a notation. We can use other notation to describe the same vector, but to understand that here ket A has been multiplied by scalar Z, we write it as a ket ZA. And this, on multiplying Z with this ket, we get another ket which is B. Okay. The last axiom about ket space is the distributive property. So when you have a sum of two kets, this scalar multiplication Z can be distributed over this addition. So this can be written as Z ket A and Z ket B. So this is scalar multiplications and then you sum them over. Here, if you have two addition of two scalars and then you multiply it by a ket, so this can be distributed in a way that this gets multiplied to this, then you add them and then W multiplies the ket. These have been taken from Quantum Mechanics, the theoretical minimum book. Okay, now we'll see postulate 4. We've already seen postulate 1. We haven't seen postulate 2 and 3. We'll see them in the upcoming videos. Postulate 4 in terms of spin half system. So what it says is, if you are given a generic ket psi, so your atom to begin with is in state psi, you do an SZ measurement. What does SZ measurement means? That you want to know what is the value of spin component along Z axis. Okay, that is what you mean by SZ measurement. So we know that it yields only two possible values, that is plus minus h bar by 2. So either the spin will be pointing up, the value will be plus h bar by 2, or the arrow will be pointing downwards, the value will be minus h bar by 2. Okay. So the probability of obtaining plus minus h bar by 2 in a SZ measurement is this. So you take an inner product of these kets with the generic ket and then you square this term. This term, this inner product gives us the probability amplitude, and when we want to find the probability, you take the square of it. So whenever you want to find that what is the final outcome after one state is measured in some other state, so you write it this way. So you don't read it left to right, you read it right to left. So the probability of psi to be found in plus z state will be its inner product with plus z. Similarly, the probability for psi to be found in minus z state will be the inner product with minus z, and then you take the mod square of this and hence you get the probability. Here we know that plus minus z are the basis set of SZ and they correspond to the values plus minus h bar by 2. Right. Now we'll revisit the Stern-Gallagher experiments and we'll write the probabilities using this postulate 4. Okay. So in experiment 1, we had already seen that you had the beam, you perform an SC measurement, then you get two beams, you block the minus C and you let only the plus C beam, and then you perform a second SC measurement. Then what the outcome we saw was that all of it has a plus C and there is none that contains the minus C. So any atom that has already been measured to have Z component up in the positive direction still has Z component in the positive direction, and there is no atoms here that can change the direction if you're performing the same measurement. So this can be written as the probability for plus Z beam. This represents this one plus Z to be found in plus Z. You write this, okay? It's right to left. So this first beam to be found in plus Z, the probability is 1. So all of it is found in this. Similarly, the probability for plus Z to be found in minus Z, the probability of plus Z to be found in minus Z is 0. This, okay. So now let's look at experiment 2. Instead of SC second analyzer, we have SX second analyzer. So 1 here represents that you are allowing the first beam to go into the SX analyzer. Now, what is the probability for this plus Z beam to be found in plus X state? So for any atom that initially has plus Z state can be found in plus X state or minus X state with 50% probability. We saw that in the earlier video. So to write it in mathematical terms, probability can be written as plus C to be found in plus X in a product, and whole square can be written as 1 by 2 since the probability is 0.5. And similarly, if you are talking about the probability of finding this plus C in the minus X state, this probability is also 1 by 2. Now instead of blocking the lower beam, we block the upper beam and we input the minus C state here. So here the answer will be similar, just that here instead of this plus C, we are looking at minus C. So the probability of this an atom being in minus C state to be found in plus X state is 1 by 2. 25 means this 50 has equal probability to be in either of this. So any atom that has uh, the probability that has initial state minus C has 50% probability in plus X, and similarly the probability for any atom to be in, which is in minus C to be found in minus X state is also 1 by 2. Okay, so we end this video here. In the next video we'll see the application of this to the two important equations that we have seen of using the information from experiment 1 and experiment 2. We'll derive the relation between the SZ basis and SX basis, which is very important. See you in the next video.